It's the New Rules Pod. What you gonna do?
What the f*** you talk about? No investing in crypto?
That's insane to me. Like seriously, dog.
Yeah,
like what the f*** kind of advice?
Go in, bro. Go in on him, bro. You look cool? Do you look cool enough?
I'm getting disgusted now. Let's just move on, man. My gears start to get grinded again. That's crazy to me. That is the wildest f***ing take. Financial literacy. Thank you. Best performing digital asset over any stock in the past decade, and he says don't put a penny in it. Mic check 1 2 1 2. It's the New Rules Pod. What you gonna do? It's your boy McKinley Hayes. I'm in the studio with my man's.
Okay.
100 grand. Carter F. Keril Automated K.
All that good stuff.
Keril, today what we talking about, man?
It was a month or two ago, and I was driving. I think I was coming back from the gym, and I see this text from Mac. We got like a group text of a whole bunch of finance crypto bros, you know, the squad.
To the moon.
And he's like, yo, you see this post from Dave Ramsey? Yo, this me all the shit irresponsible. He was like, what the f*** he talk about? No invested in crypto? Huh? No invested in crypto?
Drop the post right here.
So clearly I was like, first of all, let me take a look at it. And second of all, save off all your vitriol and all your, you know what I'm saying, all your swag for the podcast. So We're going to hop right into it. Dave Ramsey made an Instagram post on how to invest your money. Very controversial. We're just going to dive right in. We're going to start with the stuff he talked about investing in, which is mutual funds.
Yeah, for sure. Let me set the stage by saying I don't completely disagree with Dave Ramsey. I actually was, pretty avid follower of him. I like what he was doing. I like the way he pumps up the community to want to be debt free. Mm-hmm. He's got some good ideas, some good baseline strategies. So while it's going to appear like I'm going in on him because of the things he said don't invest in when we get there.
Go in, bro. Go in on him, bro.
You know what I'm saying? I just want to preface the conversation with I like the baby step system. I like the principles mostly. And this just kind of rubbed me the wrong way because it just seemed like archaic type of, mindset. But let's get into it. So we got the post up and it says how to invest your money. And the first thing is mutual funds. Let's start there. I believe in investing in mutual funds. I think that they're good products. If you can find a good one with a good rate of return and, you can set it and forget it and you trust those advisors or the people managing the financial instrument to make money, that's not a bad thing. The problem I have with it is he has, growth in income, aggressive growth, and international, which is, of course, things that benefit people who have the mutual fund. These are the things that you want out of it.
I think when you're relatively new, so 10 years ago, I wasn't financially astute, but I still wanted to save and make money. So yes, I did invest with a financial advisor. I still have them to this day.
Right.
And I have about 200K plus invested in mutual funds. At some point, maybe I might move that over because I'm way more sophisticated now. Now I believe wholeheartedly in index funds, VTSAX and VTI and like all those things.
Right, which are ETFs. Right.
Which are ETFs and then index funds to be more specifically, to be more specific.
Right.
But the whole point is Dave Ramsey has, if you look at his website, like you'll see like he has like a network and he probably makes profit off of, right? Like if he's referring people to financial advisors. So I think it's disingenuous to say only invest in mutual funds and not let people do their research to take a look at a mutual fund versus some of the low cost indexes.
Right.
I think that's self-serving. I think there's a motive behind it. Maybe not malicious, but he getting paid off referring people to financial advisors where clearly index funds have punished, crushed.
Right.
Knocked out.
So like just
Mike Tyson.
Draw a little more clarity on that. Dave Ramsey promotes a network of local financial advisors in your area based on the input you put in the website, to which he connects you with someone locally who helps you, find the best funds. And to your point, one of the major differences for all of our viewers in the audience is, with a mutual fund
is actively managed.
Yeah, it's actively managed by someone. They basically usually have a fee on top of whatever rate of return. So when you buy in, your money can still make you money, but depending on what the fee is, that will determine, if they're taking 0.5 or 1 or whatever it is, versus an index fund or ETF, which is passively managed.
Right. And the one that I'm mainly invested in, which is VTSAX, tracks like an index of funds, right? That's why it's called an index fund.
Right.
But it's beat mutual funds out for a ton of years.
Right.
So it's irresponsible for him to just say invest in mutual funds when there are financial vehicles out there that give people the freedom faster, that where you don't need to pay somebody or pay an investment that hasn't done as well as an investment that's less expensive, has a proven track record over the past 10 or 15 years.
That's one of two, right? So we already talked about, the omission of anything outside of a mutual fund. And then the second one he has up there is real estate paid in full, which to me comes off as extremely privileged because, come on now, let's look at the housing market in 2020.
And condescending.
Right. I mean, let's look at the housing market in 2021. You see what's happening with values. You see what's happening with inventory. I think it's safe to say that most people don't flat out own their real estate. They have a mortgage or a leveraged situation with rental property or whatever the case may be. I don't disagree with him in that I think the goal should be to pay your real estate in full, to be able to do your transactions. Pay it off
as quickly as possible.
But realistically, if you're borrowing $200,000-$300,000 at 2-3%, which is like a regular mortgage.
Yeah, like we can get that bread
and you get a lump sum of cash, is the smart thing to throw it straight at the mortgage or maybe put it into another instrument that could beat that 2-3%, make the money faster, and then pay off the mortgage? That's what I would say to argue against people who aren't on this fast track to paying off their real estate in full. Because to be honest, most people, and let's go within our community, I barely know anybody whose house is paid off.
I mean,
the goal is to get there, and we're young. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything to add to that. I think it's condescending, and there are other options that need to be discussed. You can't just say, hey, pay your real estate off in full. It's like, all right, bro, like, nobody gave us a lump sum of money.
Right.
Yes, don't over leverage yourself and buy more real estate than you can afford.
Right.
But if somebody gave me $300,000 with the financial education and the students I have to this point, I'm gonna try to flip that.
Exactly.
With a side hustle, with investment, with doing some other things, right?
That's what I'm saying. So like to the point and getting back to the post. Yeah, I don't disagree with fundamentally what he's saying is, he's
omitted too much.
Yeah. An active mutual fund is great if it can perform and you're not going to be that involved and, it's giving you a good rate of return and, it's not a terrible thing. I'm not saying don't invest in any mutual funds.
That's where you start.
To only invest in mutual funds outside of the money used to pay off real estate, it just seems extremely narrow-minded, and it doesn't account for the laundry list of things he says don't invest in that we're going to get into that some, I do agree with them 100%, but crypto we're going to get to. Of course, I don't agree with don't ever buy cryptocurrency.
All right, as you guys can tell.
I mean, just I'm getting disgusted now. Let's just move on, man.
As you guys can tell, Mac really wants to get to the stuff that he talked about not to invest in. So let's just dive into that, right? Let me let's scratch that. All right, that itch.
We'll go straight to the post, right? Dave Ramsey says, do not invest in single stocks at all. Not one, how dare you? Don't you dare buy a single stock. To me, you can do well with single stocks because let's look at the mindset of buying a single stock. You're pretty much betting on yourself that you can beat the market. You believe this company is going to perform.
Yep.
You think, you can invest X amount of dollars in X amount of shares and make X amount of money, right? To him, don't do that at all. But to me, I say it's not a bad idea. I think you should be diverse. I feel like it's okay to have single stocks. It's okay to have some mutual funds. It's okay to have ETFs. And then it's okay to have some of your money in real estate and cryptocurrency. I'm a big proponent of a diverse portfolio.
Which is what most sharp investors like Ray Dalio are a proponent of. So let's just talk about...
So he's saying don't buy a single stock at all, as if the person who invested X amount of dollars in Tesla 3 years ago, and then today we see what Tesla's doing. He would say that was a bad move. I use Tesla as an example of a success story, but there can be failure stories too. But to say don't do it at all, to me, is just like, why would you discourage anyone from believing, they could invest in a stock and make money? With
every comment, you can always just go in and have like, I guess the opposite point, like a polarizing point. I could just speak from experience as it relates to single stocks. So one stock in my portfolio, with two stocks in my portfolio, the first one is Apple. The reason why I invested in it is because I believe in the company and because our phones are Apple and everything else. But when you purchase a single stock, it's almost like you got to make mistakes to actually know what you're doing. So my whole point here is once you purchase a single stock that you're invested in, then you start to do the research. Then you start to tune into the earnings report. You start to be like, what is Apple's market cap? What's the P to E ratio? What is Tim Cook talking about? What is Warren Buffett doing? Like Warren Buffett is heavily invested in Apple. Now, my interest in investing and becoming a smarter investor go up.
Right.
If it's just in a mutual fund or index fund and I'm calling my financial planner, I never get smarter.
Right.
I never get the chance to be alpha. And so it's insane for him to say not to do that, because it's almost like he's talking to like a kid.
Right, and it's almost like it's saying you should never learn about this stuff. You should always trust the experts.
Yeah, people make a shit ton of money invest in one stock. So I'm probably going to paraphrase it. But Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett say, yeah, the inexperienced investor should invest in index funds. Right. But you know how they made a lot of their money on single plays. Right? Exactly. Warren Buffett made a shit ton on American Express. Right. So you make money, you make a lot of your money. Like if you're going to be wealthy, you're going to make a lot of your money on having a conviction that you believe in. Same thing with, I might get the guy's name wrong, but I think Paul Tudor or something like that, who did something like invested versus like the English currency or something, but he made like $1 billion, right? My whole point is, if you're going to be rich and super, super wealthy, you have to have conviction on something very specific and make a play.
A niche. As well, right? Because if you're only in mutual, you have no niche because you're pretty much
exactly. You got to have an niche. So that's how we've made money in our personal lives. Right. That's also how you're going to make big money in investing. To make average money and do what the index fund is doing for most people, yes.
That's stable. Look, to his point, that's growth. It's stable growth. It's guaranteed rate of return. It's your money making you money.
But you can do better.
I know he comes from a privileged mindset where that kind of money that's making you money with guaranteed growth is a sizable amount.
So just put an index fund.
It's going to make you money.
But that's not where most people are.
Exactly. So you to the new investor and someone who's trying to start earning,
better than alpha,
you got to kind of you have to be diverse, because here's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying he's wrong. Put all your money in single stocks, run it up. No, I agree that all of your investment shouldn't be in single stocks. I just agree that it's not a bad thing to buy single stocks outside of whatever investment strategy you have.
So one more thing on bullet number one. All right. Just remember this. At some point in your life, you have to make a play. You got to take a risk. You can't get rich without taking a fucking risk. Yeah, man, you got to take a play. So you got to pick, like, when you make that play, but you're not going to get wealthy just doing what the average person does. Don't risk it all, but you have to fucking make a play. That's all I got on that topic.
Single stocks, not a bad thing. I don't understand why you said that.
I'm invested in Apple. I'm invested in Alibaba. I'll talk about that in another video. And I'm invested in some more shit. But those two interest me a lot.
But you also have index funds. ETFs,
most of my money, in Google, because I work for Google. I don't know that. Got a ton of stock in Google.
So moving on, all right? Dave Ramsey says, do not invest in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency of any kind, regardless of the fact that it has outperformed every single stock, asset, real estate, you name it, transaction known to man over the past decade. However, he says, do not invest at all. Here's where I disagree. The proof is in the pudding. I understand not all of your money, because it's still a very volatile, time for cryptocurrency. It could drop 20, 30%. No one's time to be losing half of, 1/3 of their earnings overnight. But I think us, as well as any other cryptocurrency enthusiast, would state, we're only putting in money that we can afford to not lose sleep over. 1 to 5% of your net worth is what they say. It's like a rule of thumb. We're a little more risk averse. We're young. We're big proponents of it. So we might dip a little bit more. To just flat out tell your audience, don't buy any, because there's people who still are skeptical and wary about cryptocurrency for whatever reason. They haven't taken time to understand, decentralization or the technology of how it works, but they want to do smart things with their money. So if one of our financial leaders is out here telling us the best performing, quote unquote, trading tool of the past decade, don't put any money into it, it just seems really
archaic, old school, antiquated.
All of the above. It's just like, and I mean, that honestly, this is probably the one that made me go off and send you and JR and Dodie the text. Like, this man said, don't put 1 penny in Bitcoin. Like, pay your house off in full instead. As if the 2 to 3% that you're borrowing on the hundreds of thousands is going to be sped up that much faster by you avoiding something that's returning 1,000x in some cases for some of these altcoins, right? So it's like, am I saying ride the wave of cryptocurrency and ignore this man? No. But what I'm saying is to advise your followers to not touch it, not be educated on it, don't get involved at all, carry no cryptocurrency. It just seems like really, really bad advice. You know what I'm saying?
It is bad advice. And I like the fact that you talk about, when you talk about things like the positives of them, right?
Right.
My take usually is, how can I take this one thing I'm investing in and do multiple things with it? So let's talk about Bitcoin and why you should invest in it. Outside of the fact that it can make you money, with all the money that's going into Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and decentralized finance. That's a new wave of technology. So let me just rewind back to the internet age. We can agree that everybody in the internet age didn't get rich just off creating a company or just investing in a stock, right? Some of us, so Cisco was big like back then, right? You got skill sets that you could learn. Somebody got to do something on blockchain. Somebody got to sell everything that isn't automated between different organizations, right? Some developer has to program on blockchain. And so with you not understanding this technology, you're going to get left behind. The same way how, luckily for us, we caught the wind of technology, and that's how we got
into our careers and what we do now.
Exactly. It's how we got to where we are now. And so for you to put your head in the sand and not invest, we're not saying invest a lot, even if you don't want to do 5 to 10%. I'm investing because I'm also learning. If I lose it, I've learned so much, right? So I'll give you like just one quick example, right? Starting a Coinbase account. You put money into different things, right? That got me to looking at which coins I wanted to invest in. After I did that, right, JR sent me a course on decentralized finance. I was like, holy shit, people are making crazy returns that the bank isn't currently paying. And so what I did was I dollar cost average into a crypto coin called Compound, right? And so now I'm staking that for 5% interest.
There you go. We got to do a video on staking. Very, very important. But thank you for touching on that, because that's another way to guarantee a percentage of your money on a cryptocurrency, which according to him, you shouldn't even look at because you have a mortgage. That's insane to me. Like, seriously, dog. Like what the kind of advice? I mean, I get it because he's a baby boomer. It's a baby boomer giving you advice on cryptocurrency, right? It's kind of like our grandparents, like, schooling us on web browsers. Hey, I understand what you think you heard. And maybe you took 1 or 2 bad experiences from somebody else and highlighted it. Like, my sister got her social security number stolen, you know, when she logged onto this website, and now, you know, every website that asks you for your social or credit card is doomed and known to man, and we should never touch them. That's like the advice comes from 1 or 2 bad experiences from their peers from something they don't understand. When you and I both know, working in technology, we understand encryption, we understand secure protocol, we understand like how to tell when a website is bad versus when it's not, and to like just denounce shopping on the web as a whole because you're old and something happened to you and you didn't like your experience. But you have a community, you have a following, you have people that you have helped in other areas. That's why I don't want the video to come off as a Dave Ramsey bash post, because what he's done for a large community of people in terms of driving debt freedom mindset, I think is a positive and good thing. I just think there is a point where we've got to like back and challenge some of this stuff, because if we're just taking everything he says at face value, then boom, I'm having an investment conversation with somebody who follows Dave Ramsey. He said, don't invest in crypto at all. I said, whoa, hold on. Crypto has returned for me 80x this year. Who's right? You know what I'm saying? It's like, all right, that person would say, oh, you might lose 80x. It was like, all right, now if you learn how to stake, and now if you learn how to trade, now if you learn how to dollar cost average and pull out gains, like,
there's new skills.
There's a lot of things you can learn. So it's like, it's almost like an unwillingness to learn, where it's like you're going to write all that off and say, all that money that you put in the crypto, you should have put on your mortgage. The goal is for all of us to pay our homes off and flip our real estate. I'm not denouncing real estate. It's just the list is too short for me, bro. Mutual funds and real estate. Everything else, what are you doing? That is bullshit. Like, that is crazy.
Yeah, it is insane. And I was listening to this podcast, I think Adam Grant. The one thing he said that stood out to me was, whenever you're having a conversation, no matter what side you're on, if it's a binary conversation, you're missing a lot of the gray area. And that's what this is, right? Nuance. So if you posted this with no nuance and he's so binary, you're missing a lot of the nuances of people's situations of what's true. Some people can go broke doing this.
Yeah.
Because if you follow this advice to the T and you're a follower and you don't invest in Bitcoin, you don't understand the technology, what happens when decentralized finance comes in? All those jobs goes away. All the tech shit this now goes away, and you don't know none of this. You ain't invest in it. You don't understand it. You're fucked.
Real life use case. Look at the real estate market right now, right? And you know what's going on with my rental property. You know what's going on with my primary home. I've been sending you the equity. You know, like things are booming right now, right? Okay. Let's say 4 years ago, I read this advice. 3 years ago, 2 years ago, because this just started blowing through. 2 years ago, I read this advice and I said, oh, anything outside of a mutual fund or real estate, stupid. Why would I even touch it? I get a check for $150,000. Settlement, inheritance claim, fell off a truck, whatever. I get $150,000. You're going to tell somebody to put a lump sum of cash in their real estate that's going to fluctuate anyway. And I know they say crypto is volatile, but so is real estate. And you could burn 100 from your house being underwater or gain an equity, and that same 100 you could have put in the market, made X amount of dollars, and then your real estate situation was going to be what it was going to be anyway, and you didn't even make a dent in it by putting that 100 cash on it, or 150 cash on it. So I'm like, it's just so one-sided. Like, you're gonna, like, I think a better play would be for somebody who says, all right, let's look at these things he says don't invest in. They put 10% in Bitcoin, they put 10% in a single stock, they put 40% in an ETF, and then, you know, I actually do agree with him on the whole life policies and annuities. Bonds, maybe when you get later on in life. Who's better off? The person who takes that lump sum of 150 and puts it on their mortgage balance, or the person who takes that 150 and put 33% in Bitcoin, 33% in the ETF, that return 13% for you, VT Sachs, let's use that one, and a single stock. Let's say they bought, you know, Tesla, Apple, Chipotle, McDonald's, something that blew up. All right, you either knocked your balance off 100 to 150 on your house, or you put 100 to 150 in here and it's now worth 312, 350. Who was the smarter play? That's like obviously an example to our favor, but I would rather make a play like that where you have
make a play.
A diverse way for your money to grow. That way, if one of the three doesn't do as well, you still got other ways doing well versus just flat out boom. But he's so big on debt freedom, pay your house off. It's like you're going to have people taking every single dollar that they were looking to invest and paying for 15 to 30 years off on the mortgage. Then by the time they're 50, they got to do annuities a whole life because they done missed the crypto wave. They done missed the ETF. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's too binary.
It's just wild. I think I want to go back to your original point of, like, I don't mean to be accusatory, but it's no coincidence that the products that he's a heavy proponent of, such as mutual funds, on his website, he solicits the same service. And it's like, use one of these. Like, why would you go buy some Ethereum when Jane is right here at the top right of my website waiting for you to click on her and get her to give you financial advice? It just seems a little self-serving, you know what I mean?
Right. And we don't know what the cut is or what's happening. It just seems as if it's just something to point out and note. We're not accusing Dave Ramsey of anything. We're just pointing it out. Like, it seems as if you're recommending these people on your website, there may be some sort of business arrangement. And if that's the case, it's kind of funny that you didn't take a look at lower cost options for doing the same thing, like investing in index funds.
This man said, do not invest in Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency when it's the single-handed, best performing
you want to give you a hug, man?
Digital asset over any stock in the past decade. And he says, don't put a penny in it. That's crazy to me. That is the wildest fucking take of 2022 or whenever he posted this, dog. I just can't get over, like, how egregiously bad and poor that is to say, dog. Like, I get it. Don't put all your money into it, but don't buy anything. It's like all your friends buy a winning lottery ticket. Everybody's got the winning numbers and the winning formulas. It's a proven system of working, and you just say, don't give him $50 to play the lottery. Put that $50 on your mortgage so the balance will drop $50. The f*** is that gonna do? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just terrible, poor advice. But anyway. All right. Dave Ramsey also says, do not invest in whole life insurance policies, which I actually agree with. Annuities and bonds until, you know, maybe get of retirement age. But where we kind of start to disagree is the
micro investing.
Let's talk to the people about what this is, right? These are like your Acorns, your low volume deposit type of accounts, right? Like Acorn, for those of you who don't know, is an app you can download where anytime you purchase something, it'll invest your spare change into an account and then pretty much invest it in the market and buy whatever you set up for it to buy. So it's not bad, but it's really hard to get volume that way, which is why we're big fans of DCA.
What I would add to micro investing is that just start wherever you are.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You do got to start somewhere, right? So there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah,
right?
You got to start somewhere. So, I mean, the don't invest in is probably the biggest thing that's rubbing us the wrong way.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you got to just start wherever you are. So if micro investing gets you excited about investing,
right,
it gets you involved in actually taking action to secure your future, start there.
Right.
It's not ideal, but it's a good place to start to wrap your brain around what compounding looks like, what it looks like when something happens automatically for you and you start to actually save money. So it shouldn't be on the don't list.
Yeah, it shouldn't be on the don't list. We can stop there. Right? It just shouldn't be there.
Yeah, like we don't know, but if you're new, we're all at different levels. And that's usually the problem that I have with most talking heads. Is like they're talking down on people. It's like there's no nuances, there's no understanding. It's like, oh, just don't do this. It's like, nah, bro. Like if you work in a job or you not making, like you don't have like $100,000 income and this gets you to start investing, start with that. And then up it to DCA and everything else that we talk about.
Right.
But just start there.
He also says don't invest in REITs, ETFs, and CDs. I will agree with him on the CDs. We can agree that investing in a CD with the rates the way they are with banks right now, probably not the best idea. REITs, I don't have any personally. I know you've explained to me that, it's kind of like a real estate dividend payout type of fund. Not too big on that either. But the ETFs, my gears start to get grinded again because, again, these are proven, performed, index-like funds over time. The fees are a lot lower. They're passively managed, but people are using them as wealth tools. But he says, don't you dare. To which you say,
there has to be some motive behind why he's saying that.
Right.
That has to do with business, but doesn't have to do with the best interests of his fan base.
Okay.
Based on my investing social circle, VTSAX is one of the main vehicles that we use.
VTSAX.
JR is invested in it. The Rich Couple, Rich Journey, maybe we could pull that up.
Right. Rich by Intention, right? Or not them.
Rich Journey, our Rich Journey,
our
or
Rich
something.
Journey,
like.
my bad. Yeah.
Right. So they got a good video where we retired at 39.
Right. Moved to Turkey,
with
right?
2-point-something million.
Or Portugal or something.
Yeah, Portugal.
Yeah,
right.
Gotcha.
And one of their main investments was VTSAX.
Right.
They did that on their own, and they're 2 government employees. So they're not making. The thing I like about that example is that they're not making like hundreds of millions of dollars. They haven't come up with some new app or something like that. There were 2 government employees with kids.
Being smart with that.
They just saved a lot, right? Saved more than I saved. I think it was up to 70%. But less about that and more about the vehicle. You can invest in VTSAX without having to talk to an advisor.
Right.
You got to just learn how to log on to Vanguard, sign up for it.
It's almost like he's saying don't trust yourself to ever learn about any financial instruments. You should always sign up for things that are managed by other
whack.
people.
That's whack and disingenuous, and I don't.
And it goes against everything we preach on this channel, right?
Yeah,
like financial literacy. Thank you. And learning for yourself about these tools so you can make the smartest moves with your money. He's saying trust other people with your money, focus on your mortgage balance, knock those 2 out, and then ride your way to wealth off slow growth, as opposed to looking for these opportunities for these big gains. But I'm sorry, they're there and they're happening, and to completely ignore them is, in my opinion, not sound advice.
Agreed. And we could probably talk for another hour on this topic because inflation comes to mind. I mean, a whole bunch of shit.
Exactly.
But it will make the video way too long, so we will continue this topic or some version of it in another video. So takeaways, Mac. We
don't think Dave Ramsey's a bad person. I don't think he gives terrible advice across the board. I believe in his message to the debt-free community and the people trying to achieve that and, get their handle on their finances. I think he's a great advocate for many of the causes in financial literacy that we preach. But on this singular sole post, the reason it's so controversial and the reason it strikes me the wrong way, because it completely disregards and makes light of a lot of different financial instruments that people are interested in, want to learn about,
and can do well in.
That have done very well, and people have, used them as vehicles to create wealth. And he's just throwing it out the window as if to say, you're wasting your time by even looking at that stuff. That's the issue I have with this post. That's the takeaway. Architect your own future, like we always say. Educate yourself on the single stocks you want to look into. Educate yourselves on the cryptocurrencies that you want to invest in. We understand that there's more volatility in that market per se, so don't overspend or spend money that you're not going to be able to recoup, because just as things can go great, they can go bad. That, along with ETFs and other things he has on here, I feel like are worth the conversation, and we want people to make their own decision as opposed to just blindly following a boomer.
Yeah.
Shots fired. Sorry.
Only points that I would add to this conversation is definitely invest some portion. It could be 5, 10, but I don't give a shit. Something in Bitcoin and crypto and decentralized finance, because it is going to be the future. If you don't learn about it now, you will get left behind, period. The second point is that ETFs are how a lot of people are getting to financial freedom. That's one of the vehicles I'm investing in, a vehicle a lot of my rich multi-million-dollar friends are investing in. And so you should probably take a look at ETFs. If you need a place to start with understanding VTI and VTSAX.
Nice. And I'm really curious to know what our listeners and audience and people watching this video feel about this post, our take on it. Do you agree with Dave Ramsey? Do you agree with us? Drop me a comment, because you see, like, if you've been watching our channel, I don't get too fired up about anything. I do, but I don't. But at the same time, like this one, Keril hit a nerve. So I'm really curious to hear what you guys think about this post and our thoughts on it. So please, if you don't comment or like or do anything else, please drop me a comment on this video. Let me know how you feel about it. Like, subscribe, share, you know, the whole nine. Do all that and get with us, man. New Rules Podcast.
Until next time we talk, make sure you make a play.